about ready to drop and I thought, oh my, all that expense, I couldn't ask my dad to send me to radio. And anyway, I didn't really care. I just wanted to be on the farm.
What was, I'm going to ask you one more question and then we'll, close it for now. Yeah. What was thrashing like?
Oh, that everybody loved thrashing. I just loved thrashing. I called all the grade, Mike and I.
And would that be horse?
Oh, horses and wagons. We'd haul it from the machine to the elevator. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or to the granaries and on Shelburne. Yeah.
And would you have a thrashing gang?
Oh yeah, a gang. Like Dad had a thrashing outfit, and he would thrash maybe 4 or 5 neighbors, and so that whole gang would be at one place and then at another, and then until everybody was thrashed out. And the wife of the house dead. Like Alvina was home then, and her mom, and then more big meals and big days. But we all just loved the days. Yeah.
Okay, we'll cut here, and we're just sort of beginning. I'd love to hear about all the dirty 30s and the depression.
Well, we can just do that sometime, just to have something to talk about.
Yeah.
The depression was really something else.
Well, I think I just love to get that on. We can maybe do another night.
Yeah, sure, if you want to. I enjoy talking.
Well, this is just wonderful. It's great.
Yeah, we probably haven't hit the highlights of things.
Just kind of get started. It'd be fun to know about, your and Dad's life together. I mean,
Well, you got some of the old stuff there. And
yeah.
You know a lot about our life. But the 30s was the Depression years and that. See, like my dad had good years from the time they come up until, then the Depression come and they lost everything. And then like us, then when we got stuck, once we got through the Depression, we had good years while we raised 2 kids. And now on the other hand, it's a different Depression than it was then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, like nothing grew. For 10 years we never had a crop. It wasn't always dry. It was sometimes hail, sometimes grasshoppers. But for 10 years we never had a crop. So that was hard. That's when they started giving us relief. And we even had, the government even have supplies with grain to sow our crop the next year. And a lot of the debt was called under at the end because nobody could pay. Yeah.
Wow, what a rich history here, Mom. Woo.
Yeah, over 83 years.
Yep.
You should know. You should know a little bit.
Yeah, gosh, I didn't know all about your family, like your linens.
Myself, I figured I had a real good home. It was poor. I mean, we were no poorer than anybody else. And you learn to do without things. You learn to just try. I remember we were down at Helene's one day, and not Shandy, but fell across the street.
Yeah,
Hal. And we were talking about how we preserved our meat. And he was listening. He said, you should have that written down. He said, that's history. He was amazed how we cured all that meat and ham and everything. And we used to put our eggs in what they called...
Look at the sun.
Yeah. What did they call that stuff? It was a solution.
A brine?
Yeah, it was brine, and it turned kind of solid, like heavy salt, What was that called? And we put our eggs in there, fresh eggs, and we would throw them in that brine. And they were just never like a fresh egg. We could always use for cooked baking. And we'd render all our lard and put in crocks of lard we'd eat all that. Now today, well, I think while people lived them days, everything you did was manual labor, and I think you just worked it off.
Mm-hmm.
But I can just remember how amazed he was to think we did all those things. Mm-hmm. That it really was still.
So we're going back to that now. Well, did you have flower? Like, where did you develop your love of flowers? Did you have flowers when you were home?
Not really. We had a little bit around there, but I don't know. I always loved flowers. I just loved flowers. I think go to the flower shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I got first for my garden out in the country there one year.
On our farm?
And it was the fairs that I developed a lot in. Went to Alameda Fair one year. I don't know when I started going to Alameda Fairs, but we got started. And in the fall fair, you could take your canning, you could take all your vegetables out of the garden, plus your baking, plus your painting, everything. And I entered the canning stuff there. I entered everything, but I entered all my vegetables from onions to carrots, just everything in a line. And I wasn't at the counter when he judged them, but Olina was sitting there, and she said he went down that road. I got first for everything down that line. And he says, here she is, she's got first for everything. He said, that doesn't say her vegetables are any better than the other. She knew how to show. And it just made you feel kind of proud. And then there was a prize of given for the most points in canning and all that kind of stuff. And I got that twice. That was maybe $10, $15 for the groceries. It was, but it wasn't the groceries that counted. It was the idea that you got it. Now they weren't even close. So I could do all those things. So that was kind of proud. And then,
Okay, great. We'll,
Done?
yeah, sure are.
we'll get that in here now.
Then it'll say record when it starts to record.
Oh, there it is. You're after it. Can you see me in there?
Oh, yeah.
And you got your little book for questions in it?
We'll just go here from scratch.
All done from scratch.
Yeah. So, let's see, we left off where we talked about you playing ball, and we talked a lot about your...
We didn't play ball. We never talked about playing ball, did we?
Yes, I think we did. Not too much, okay. What was that like?
Oh, yeah, you asked when did we start playing ball or something. Yeah, and we did, yes, we did say a little bit about, we got Walter Stockton and Sam Johnson to be our coach and our leader, and we'd turn our money into to pay gas for the car to go to. So then we got real good. We hardly ever, we lost one game I think all summer, and so we joined up. We were going to play for the Southeastern Saskatchewan Championship. And our first ball game was in Moose Jaw. And we were kind of, see, that was a little off season. We had to do all the harvesting at home. We didn't have any practice for 6 weeks. Then it was time to go up there and we were a little out of practice. And anyway, we went all the way to Moose Jaw, which is quite a ways. And we got up there, it'd been raining for 3 days and they never told us. We just had to turn around and come back. We never got a game. So they came back to Carlisle and we were to give them half the gate receipts. And they were staying at the lake over the weekends. And so we had our first game that night and they beat us 5-9. We were just as good as they were. We weren't quite as stylish, but boy, we just couldn't seem to hit the pitcher. They had a pretty good pitcher. So they beat us 5-9. And so they're staying at the lake and Walter made them why not just play the 2 games while they were down here? They wouldn't take us on. So we never gave them any of the gate receipts and kept them all. So that was our championship. And then when we were old enough to get married, then we had to sign off, couldn't play anymore.
You couldn't play ball. Let's see, yeah. When did you first meet Dad? Do you remember the
Yes,
first time you met him?
I remember the first time I met him. We went down to church at New Favors, and him and his brother Vernon were there. And that was the first time we met him.
Do you remember your first date with Dad?
Well, I went home from a dance with him one night, and that's about the start of it. And then we just didn't go steady all summer, but we dated. And then one night we went to a dance at Green Hill School, and he says, asked me if I was going with anybody, and I said no, with nobody. So he wanted me to go steady, so we did. And then so he went back to Iowa the first year, and then the next year he came back, and then we went together all that summer, and then he stayed.
So now, when he asked you to go steady, that would be like in the fall?
Oh,
Or-
through the summer sometime,
through the
we were
summer.
dance sometime, yeah.
And then he would go back to Iowa for the
When he
winter?
went back the first year, he did, this was after the first year.
Oh, after the
second
first year.
Yeah.
And then did he go back again after? you
No,
were
that was
steady?
the next time he stayed.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that was the start of the courtship.
How old were you then when you started going steady?
18. He thought he was 19 when he first came up. He came up, but I thought I was 18, but maybe he was 19.
And what did you do when you were, like, the years that you courted? What did you do for fun, and where did you go?
Well, we played ball in the summer, like all the country team, all the men, everybody played ball. We'd get together on Sundays and play ball. And of course I played with Red Sox and all the time we courted.
Would Dad come to the ball games and
Oh,
watch you play
yes.
then?
Uh-huh.
Cheer you
And
on?
our big day was always the 1st of July. Everybody went to the lake on the 1st of July. Everybody played ball. Yeah, and then we'd go to country dances. I loved school dances then.
How often would you see one another? Like, would you see one another during the week or just on the weekend?
No, I don't think through the week unless playing ball. Maybe seeing my words with, but no, I think he courted a lot on horseback in the wintertime. He'd right up there
Oh?
in the wintertime. and then we'd play cards in the evenings, yeah.
So did Dad have a horse then?
Dad had a horse, yeah. In the wintertime, the cars didn't run the wintertime like they do now.
Uh-huh.
As soon as the first snow come away, cars are put aside and you went in the cutter in the sleigh box or horseback or whatever you had.
And then when did you get engaged? Did you get engaged? then?
Yeah, then we got engaged. I'd say probably 5 years. I ain't too sure. Maybe we went together 5 years. And then you see, then I got a nervous breakdown and I kind of shattered up I was pretty sick for a few years. It took me quite a while to get back on my feet. I really wasn't on my feet when I got married, but I did somehow.
And you had Quincy?
Well, see, I had quinsy. I started getting quinsy when I was 14. And the doctor told me that I should have the tonsils out. And the people in that time are a little leery of operations, and so they didn't push it, and of course it went on. And then I had it about 4 times, so I was about 22, I think. And we went down to Henry Faber's. They live about 15 miles from us, and for Christmas. I got quinsy while I was there, and I had to go to bed. And you would lay in bed 9 days. There was no penicillin. So it took 9 days for the quinsy to come to a head. And then the doctor would come out and lance. And we got the doctor from Ox. We had a homemade snowmobile. And he came out and he lanced it. And but already the poison had been through the system. And I had just a little spot below my knee about the size of a diamond that really hurt me. He told my mother that must never go over the knees. Like if I put my feet over the edge of the bed to get on the hand, then, that pain was terrible. You could, right to the bottom of the everything would turn deep, dark red. And the pain was interesting. And I had 2 spots on my backside, about like this. So I knew it wasn't very good. Anyway, I stayed there in bed till I got a little bit better, and then they came down the sleigh box and wrapped me in blankets and took me home. He told me to stay in bed. I stayed in bed for 2 weeks, and then he got word that I was up and says, go back to bed, stay there a lot longer. So I went to bed for 2 months. But those black legs never left me till summer. They just ached and pained terrible.
They were like black below your knee?
Yeah, just a dull, deep red.
Oh,
Yeah. And then I got a nervous breakdown. And, oh no, I shouldn't say that just yet. I went, so in the fall, I decided now the tonsils are coming out, whether my parents like it or not. My dad, the whirlwind went, I'll tell you how it happened. Whirlwind went through the wheat field, and Dad told me if I raked that up, I could have the wheat that was in it, and I got $33 worth. So Mike took me to town in the sleigh box, and I went down to the doctor and told him I wanted tonsils out. He says, good, you come down to my office, and I'll just sit in the chair, and I'll just take them out. I never heard of that. And he put me in the chair, and he froze that tonsil. And I felt every cut and tear. I was crying in the chair, and the blood was shooting up in his face. He'd get an artery, you know, and it never froze. The thing was, it never froze, so he just had to take it out like that. And then after it was out, and then he said, well, now do you still want to take the other one out? And I thought a while, and I thought, well, when I'm sitting here, I might as well. And it was better. It was just like taking out a tooth. You felt the freezing. It took the freezing. He snipped it off. By this time, the first one started bleeding. And so he put a couple forceps on it, and he laid me in a back room while he looked after some other patients. And when he came back in, took the forceps out, the blood just shot it right out of the floor. And he rushed me up to the hospital and told the nurses to have the dry blood, whatever that was, drying blood, to be ready, have everything ready anyway. When I got up there, they put on 4 forceps, and he put me to bed till, this was at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and he put me to bed till after supper sometime. He came up and he took them forceps off, and it still was, we had to sew it shut. And so he said to me then, he said, now, if that ever starts bleeding through the night, you be sure and call a nurse, because it won't take long. But I was so clogged up, if I'd have bled, I'd never known. And so when it was after that, then I got the nervous breakdown. I had just lost so much weight just overnight, even it just, and then just one thing led to another. And then
How long were you in the hospital then?
just overnight.
Oh, then you went back home in the sleep box.
I went back home the next day, yeah. And then once the bleeding stopped. And that nervous breakdown went on for a long time. So we were 25 when we got married then.
You got married in the Wordsworth Church?
We were the first ones married in the Wordsworth Church
And that would be what year?
at 37.
1937?
1937.
And January the 5th?
January the 5th,
Fifth,
yeah.
January.
January the 5th, 1937.
That was cold?
Yeah, and we had, Elvina was at home in bed with, I don't know what she must have had when she had typhoid fever, rheumatic fever. I just know she had something that we were quarantined for. So we had we just went to 35 below, we went to the church and lit the fire and then had the wedding. There was nobody there but us two and our witnesses.
And who was that?
Edna Faber and Mike Kramer. I remember we gave the priest $4 to marry us, and he gave us $2 back for the wedding present. So we just came home and had our own dinner because we couldn't have anybody in because we were quarantined. And so I baked my own wedding cake, and we just had our dinner at home. So
And then who married you?
Father Walsh. Yeah, Father Walsh married us.
And when you had your dinner at home, were your brothers and sisters there?
Oh yes, just the immediate family because we couldn't have anybody. There was nobody else, just nobody else. I imagine Ben and Johnny were there. I'm not even too sure, but I imagine the family was there because we were back and forth. But we couldn't have any outsiders. So then, first year along comes along comes John Peter. I'm born May the 25th, and he didn't survive. And then, how far do you want me to go?
And then John was...
Well, and then,
No, he was born at home.
yeah, he was born at home, and he was a breech baby, and we couldn't save him. If I'd have been in the hospital, they'd have just cesarean that way.
Oh.
You know, I often think, it cost $20 to go to the hospital, and so we decided to stay at home. What a difference it could have made because they would have did a cesarean, and maybe he did his big, strong baby. Sad, but in a way. And then, I know God made me in heaven, so comfort.
Yeah.
And then, about a year and a half later, Joan came along.
Uh-huh.
And then in another year and a half, Helene came along.
So now when Joan was born, you were living at home?
Yeah, we lived at home till Joan was, let's see, Helene was born in May. Joan must have been about a year and a half. Like this, she was born in November. And then we stayed home that year, and then the next spring, she was about a year and a half, we moved down to our first barn.
What was it like having a baby with your mom and dad?
Oh, I was very pleased myself because I'd never handled babies. I was second youngest, and I was glad she was there too. I didn't know how to change a diaper.
Oh.
And I was glad to have her around. Oh yeah, it didn't bother me a bit. In fact, I suppose I would have stayed home all the time. I was a home person, and it was hard for me to leave home.
And so had your dad had his stroke then?
Yeah, he had the stroke. Joan was born in November, and he had the stroke right after.
Oh.
Yeah, he was carrying in the wood that I usually carried in, and then he had the stroke.
Was it nice for him to have a grandchild?
Oh, he
There.
loved kids. Yeah, Dad. Yeah, Mom was good too. They were just good parents to me all the time. I just had no complaint whatsoever.
So Joan was born in the hospital then?
Yeah, we went to the hospital and Joan was born in. And there was a funny thing too. I don't know, I had bad luck with doctors, but when the night we went in there, where the doctor wasn't there, so we had to get a doctor from Stoughton to deliver Joan. And he was the one doctor, you know, between Union and Fence Post, he was one doctor that really helped me through labor. He helped me so that I had the pain, but he knew when to make me push. I should put this on TV here, push. But anyway, he helped me through labor better than any doctor I ever was with.
Oh.
Yeah, and so Joe would come along way and he was about 8 pounds and 10 ounces.
How did you select her name? Joan?
I don't know where I got the name. Joan, Helene, and Myrna, I think I got them all off TV. Yeah. Movie actresses.
From the movies.
Yeah, no special reason. And then the next year and a half, you were born. You were all about a year and a half apart.
So then you moved from home to the...
Yeah, Joan was born at home, Helene was born in the Walls Place on the
7?
Scott Place, yeah, on 7, and you were born on the Walls Place. And then the rest were born out on the farm.
So the Scott place was also called 7?
Yeah, they're the same thing, yeah.
Where did 7 come from?
Well, that's in section 7, I suppose.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And Mrs. Scott owned the land.
So what was your house like there?
Oh, it's terrible. It had 2 bedrooms, such as they were. We used one for storage room. We had our bedroom in the other one. The first winter we didn't use them. They had been used for grain bins, you know, and they needed a little repairing. And so in the first winter we just lived in a little kitchen and we had a little front room. And we had our bed in the front room and a little heater. That's all we had in there. Oh, and that table and chairs. That took up the whole room, which was cozy enough. And yet we just had a straight stovepipe right up through the top. You could see right through there when you look straight up there and see the sky. It wasn't anything like a warm house, but you know, when it was so small like that, you'd have your kitchen stove and then you'd have your heater, so we were quite comfortable. I found it very lonely up there because it was a long ways and you just had sleigh box in the winter time. And
What did you...
and Joan's crib was in there too. And the baby buggy, well no, Helene, by the time Helene came along, we had opened up the bedroom. So we opened up one bedroom, the other we kept for storage. And we lived there 2 years.
Oh, 2 years.
Lived there 2 years.
And tell me about this furniture that you bought for $25.
Oh yes, we had $25 and we sent, like Dad says, we sent to the juice store and told them what they could send us for $25. And we got this bed and mattress and spring and that round table and then about 4 or 5 chairs.
Were the chairs matching?
Oh no, they were all different.
All different?
Oh yeah, they had come and fell apart at the station and not had them together. And then the second year while we were there, we bought a couch. When we opened up the bedroom, one bedroom, then we put our bed in there, and then we got a couch for the front room, and that could open up into a bed if somebody came. So that was a little improvement. And then I never had a washing machine though until we moved till you were born. I just scrubbed on the board. And
what were the walls and the floors like?
Oh, just wooden floors,
Oh, uh-huh.
just wooden floors, and, what else did you ask?
The walls, were they painted or did you get wallpaper?
Oh, paper. In fact, Billy Beals was stayed up with friends and they papered the whole house before it moved in.
Oh.
So it was clean.
Uh-huh.
And then we had I just cut some brown paper and cut some curtains and made kind of a curtain for the windows. Yeah.
What was the yard like? Did you have a barn? Did you have
We
cattle
had
there?
an old barn, that was all, a barn. We milked about 6 or 7 cows. And he had a pen in there, kept some pigs. We didn't have too many cattle then. Dad gave us 2 heifers. And Dad had a few, we milked 7 cows, I think. And we just had that barn, and that was all, I don't even know if there was a granary on it. I think he used some of the barn for grain. He might have had some grain bins out there, I won't say that for sure. Might have had some out in the field there. But we were pretty hard up, and it was the hard times. It was the 30s, and the government gave us roughly $9 a month for the 3 of us to live on.
Did you have a car?
Yeah, we had a car. We didn't always run it because I can remember going to church in Carlisle in the wagon. But he did have a car. And we had an old Ford. In fact, I got a picture downstairs sitting there. Oh, sneeze. Oh, no. And then we'd go home once in a while, and that's about the only place we went. Maybe to Musty's. They were our closest neighbors.
Oh, is that
and
because-
Mrs. Ed Bittman.
Oh,
Yeah. And then Helene was born there, and one time when we were there, Moulton Dennis came up to visit us. And once Lou Weber came up. I'm sure it was Lou Weber. I can't remember. He would come up with Francis' mom and dad, likely.
Oh, and so Grandma and Grandpa Weber would come up and visit you then? Or
Well, you know, I can't seem to remember them there, but I remember Moulton Dennis there. And how else would Lou come up? I just can't remember that part. I just can't. No, yeah, they might have. I just can't be sure about that.
Would you have neighbors come in then, or?
Mrs. Whitman was our closest neighbor,
Oh.
Mrs. Whitman.
Would you walk over there? Could you walk?
Oh, no, I didn't walk any place.
So you
No,
weren't
'cause I
supposed to-
always had these little kids, you see.
Uh-huh.
Like to have them, Joan and Helene, they were just babies. I know I didn't walk anywhere. So it was kind of lonely. But Musty's were east of us there a bit, and then we go down home. You see, that would be a couple miles from home, I guess. I went home every chance I got.
Mhm.
But we could talk on the phone anyway.
Oh, you had a phone?
Yeah, we had a phone, yeah. Oh, yeah, and we had, first we just had one little light. The same McAlpin's bed light. She used to keep on at nights when the kids were small. She still had one of those little lamps with a little round handle on. She got like this. So she gave us that, so we had a light. Isn't it something when you think of it? And then one day we went to Manor, and he comes home with this other lamp. It was taller and had a round wick, and it gave a little more light. We thought we had the world by the tail. I think we paid 35 cents for it. But we had a one battery radio, and then so Dad bought a little windmill opposite. You sit up on top of the house, and that gave us enough power, the wind blowing it, that we could run that radio and had one light, or maybe one in each room. So that was an improvement, yeah. And
So were the light bulbs in there, or did you have to?
no,
put
we
those
had
little
we
fixtures
had
in?
a wire and put
Oh.
light bulbs in there. And no, we were kind of happy with that. It was an improvement. So we stayed there 2 years, and then we moved to the Wallace place, and then we had a better house there.
And that's where Phoenixes live?
Yeah,
Yes, we knew it.
and that's where you were born. There.
Uh-huh.
And then one day a fella come along by G. He sold us a meat hag washer. Oh, that was a pride and joy. And also, before this 2 years was up, A fella come along one day and sold us a new Singer sewing machine. Oh, we didn't have very much money. I had an old sewing machine that Cecil Beals had found up in a barn in somebody's loft. One of these old ones you just cranked and sewed, but it sewed. And I wanted to buy it from, I offered him $2 and he wouldn't take the $2, but when he heard I had 200 pennies, he took them. And I sewed all Joan's winter clothes, even I could not sew. All I ever sewed was her diaper. That's when she was born. And I got a pattern and I made her snowsuit, pants and coat and bonnet, all on that old sewing machine.
The one for $2?
The one for $2. And so this guy came along with this new Singer sewing machine and he wanted $75 for it. You know, that was quite a lot of money then. Well, we had this old sewing machine sitting there, and well, he says, I'll take the old sewing machine and a turkey. And then whatever else we paid for it, so we got a new Singer sewing machine. Well, my goodness, I sewed everything after that, you know, just, and he never did take the sewing machine. And so one day I gave it to Ethel. And she had it for a while till she got her mother's. But if I had that sewing machine today, it'd like be worth a lot of money. That's the way things went. And then you were born, and I went to Apollo Hospital. Night, having pains every 5 minutes, and the doctor in the morning went off to Winnipeg, and they never even came up and seen me. I was so upset. And I went when Helene was born, about the 9th, maybe the 8th day I was supposed to sit up. I got a weak spell. I was going to die. I don't know to this day what that was. I could just feel it hit my feet and come as soon as it hit my heart, that sink lower. Well, I thought I was going to lose consciousness, and I guess I would have been by the next shot. And I was just sick. Who's going to look after my 2 babies, you know? Then the doctor started giving me some medicine, and I got over it, but it took me quite a while. I don't know. So when you came along, I was worried. What if that should happen again in here? I had a Dr. Stone in here, but I had no faith in him. So I didn't want him at all. So I said to the nurse, we're just going to rest today. So I got a car, and the nurse went along with me, and just then you were born at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Doctor said, all that's the matter with her, she says she works like a man and eats like two. And that's you're the first baby I never knew was born. He just put me under. And you were kind of saucy right from the beginning. You were the smallest, and you were 7 pounds and something.
What was it like having 3 children then?
Well, I don't know. You just never went anywhere. It didn't. And then when you were about 2 months old, I got Bright's disease. That was one big thing. I had to come to the hospital for 2 weeks. I brought you right along in with me. And I was supposed to not work for a long time, he said. And that's when I got Julie to work for me. She was going with Mike there. I got a Bessie Beck's blocks from Lampman. I had her for 2 weeks, and she was homesick for her boyfriend, so and I let her go. And then Julie worked for me about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I worked myself, and I got over it. And so then I had the 3 of you there.
So what would you do? Did the Mulveys live across the street there?
Yeah, they were right across the road, so I had Mary Mulvey, her name, and she's been making. And then when we stayed there 2 years, then we moved to the Brady place. Then I had Mrs. Whitman for a neighbor, Mrs. McLean. Yeah, she was a nice lady, but she was kind of a cripple in a chair, so she couldn't get around too good. She needed a hip replacement, but they didn't do them too much then time. It was a new thing, so they never had it done, so she just sat that way too.
What year would that be about?
Well, whenever you were born, you were about a year.
41?
41. You see, you were just nicely. You see, you were born in October, and we moved the next December, so you were just a little over a year. And then Rose come over to work for McLean's. She got going with Jim, so it wasn't long till we had her for a name.
Did you lose Joan once up on?
Did I lose? Oh, we lost Joan there on the. We lost her on the Wallace place. I just was frantic. We couldn't find Joan. She just disappeared. The first place I'd go to was the water tank. Dad always kept it plumb full. So, you know, that's better than being half full and reaching in and falling in and drowning. So you always kept the water at that level full. The first place I run was, we didn't have any place to run. There was only the barn and the house. And she wasn't in the water tank and she wasn't in the barn. And we went through the house and I called and there's no Joan. And we had, there was a kitchen and then there was a little room where I kept the wash machine and my bag of flour. I always bought flour, 100-pound bags, and I had my bag of flour sitting there. And there was another little building where we kept our wood and our coal, and that's where we came in. And I thought I'll make one more trip through the house and then I'm going over and call Mary and tell her I'd lost Joan. And just as I went through the third time, I saw the head pop out of the flour bag. She'd been sitting in that flour bag, playing in the flour. And she just sat as quiet as a mouse, why, because she never said a little sneaky, you know.
Did she heard you call her?
Oh, yeah, she had to, because I walked through there 3 times. And she must have stayed hid right in under there, and then the last time just caught her popping out. She must have had to come up for air. A little scary at the time.
What was it like to own your own farm?
Oh, I liked that feeling. Yeah, when Dad bought the farm, and I just felt really good. Yeah, and then we had more security now. Now we finally had a house with a furnace in it, you know, and it was quite comfortable, and I liked that place. I always did like it. I could have retired out there on the farm in that house. I just liked it. And then finally Jerry come along.
So he would be born in what year? 46?
Jerry is going to be 48 in July. Gary's 46 now, and Jerry's 47. He'll be 48 pretty quick. I never learned the years. The only years I learned was Richard, and he was 54, but I never learned the years of the others. I just went by their ages. And then Jerry and Gary and Pat were all pretty close together.
They were all born in Arcola Hospital?
Mm-hmm. Everything else was born in there. They are all born in Arcola Hospital. And we finally had our family. Another good story I ever had in here. And I'm not sorry I got him now. I think we've got a good family. Not a bad one among them, you know. Never was too much trouble raising them. I didn't think. We all had to work, of course, but that's all right. Everybody did that. And then Peggy Slackhouse and Henry. They were just our best neighbors, you know. I remember the Christmases we spent together. Their kids are about your kids' ages. And we're just close.
When did you start having chickens then?
Oh, we always had chickens.
And then you
Every
started
place we go, we always. And then when we got here, then got that big hen house, then we started selling hatching eggs. And I always raised geese.
How many hens would you have for the hatch?
Well, we found 500 chickens and they were mixed, so we usually put about 265 pullets in house for the litter. And then through the hatching season, we would sell hatching eggs. We could get about 90 cents a dozen, where they paid you according to how they hatched. We get about 9 cents a dozen, or otherwise we get 30 cents a dozen. And the roosters, we just ate them all summer. They were kind of Leghorn Cross, and we just catch them, have a couple of fries for dinner, whatever we wanted. And we eat them all through the summer. And then in the fall, I'd kill the old hens, and that's what we'd have for winter chickens, and can a lot. And well, once we got a freezer, then we froze a lot too, but for years, you know, we didn't have a freezer. But we got those things. Dad always says, like, running water. I was the first woman in the whole country to have running water. Well, we were the first ones on that electric power line. He should tell you this when you question him. I'll just leave that for him.
Okay.
Because we got the electricity, then we could go ahead and do things. That's when we got the waterworks in the house, and we could do a lot of things. They gave us electricity in the wartime because we were milking cows, and that was a necessity.
Oh.
And so that's where they connected us up to that line. That was the start of that. And then the Tommy Douglas years coming, he did a lot for the farmers. And I'll leave that for Dad's section because he knows that better than I do.
You would sell hatching eggs then from when to when?
I'd say maybe March. Maybe we'd start in March and maybe go through May, something like that. March, April, May, and by that time it's getting kind of late. And I always raised turkeys. All my life I raised turkeys, even before I was married. And the first year we were on the Wallace, on the Whitman place, I raised 78 turkeys. And then that wasn't buying, and that was hatching. They had the turkey hens, and then they set and hatched them eggs. But they liked to wander over to Mrs. McLean. She didn't want her turkeys over there, and I don't blame her. They wouldn't do her any harm. But so I didn't have many more after that.
Is that how you made your own money then?
That was
your
my,
money was your
my little bit of money.
chicken money and...
No, I didn't get the chicken money. It went for groceries.
Oh, I see.
But sometimes I got a little bit. I didn't really have my own money till I got the old age pension. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I got the family allowance came in the mother's name. Always, so the mother got that money for her kids. That's supposed to be spent on your kids, and that's where it was spent to buy you clothes and it sure all helped.
So you had Jerry and then Gary and Pat all a year apart?
Yeah, no, a little bit more. Well, yeah, they were all like, they're just something like you girls. Like Jerry, Gary, and Pat are only 14 months apart. And I think maybe Jerry and Gary were maybe a year and a half.
Was that a pretty busy time? I mean, do you
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah, and then we lost the baby there. I would have had 4 under 4. But we lost it, so.
And his name was?
Well, we didn't name him. I should have put this one, it's going to be short. We lost him at 3 months.
Oh, I see.
And that was, I lost different ones, but that was one I found. It just happened in the house.
Uh-huh.
So I brought him into the doctor. And I didn't look to see what it was, but I baptized it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then you had another, the other?
And then
son?
I had, yes, we lost Edward Joseph. He was just a little better than a year before Richard. He was born in September, and Richard was born the next December. Yeah. And he was born sickly and a little crippled with little hands really big. And I just felt so sorry for both so big. I never got to hold them. They just left me hold them, you know. And I said something to Lou Herman. She was working in the hospital. She was a hairdresser. And then she said, you know, he's sick. And so they didn't take him out. They wheeled him into my bedroom in his little crib, and the priest came in and baptized him. Oh, I should have cried. I lost them too, but he just, you know, you think you have so many, but it just wasn't quite it did. It's just the same if you have 1 or if you have 21, I think. But I know they're little angels, and I know where they are. So after a while, you get over it. And I was wishing both Pat and Richard, when they were born, would be twins, so they wouldn't have to grow up alone.
Yeah.
Because there was a little separation there between Pat and the boys. No, not Pat, but Richard. It was Richard, yeah. Especially in twins.
And how old were you when Richard was born?
I was between 43 and 44. Yeah.
Well, what were the times like with 7 children? I mean, did it seem like really busy, or were
We were
they...
busy all the time. You know, Richard, I found him no problem to raise because I had all those kids, you see. He was just nothing to raise. You know, he had all them hands that would look after him, you know. do their share. And I would have a hired girl for a couple of weeks after I come home with the baby.
Mhm.
And that was enough. I got on my feet.
When did you put the new part on the house?
Richard was born. Richard was born that year they were putting it on.
Was that a fun time?
Let's
or-
see, Richard was born in December, yeah. Yeah, well, I shouldn't say that. He must have been maybe born the year before, because when they were hammering on there, building that house, the only place to sleep was in the kitchen where they were doing all the hammering. Yeah. So he must have been born in December, and they came that next spring, because he was about 5-6 months old, and he wouldn't sleep if I put him in the little parlor we had there. I'd have to put him out in the kitchen where they're building the cupboards and all that noise, and he'd go sleep. So he grew up with noise, so he still got noise. Yeah.
Was Gary's birth your most?
Huh?
Was Gary's birth your most remembered?
Oh, yes, that was the highlights of the whole country knew about Gary. Says he's still on a herd. That was,
How did that go?
well, in the first place, I wasn't supposed to have him for a week, and I was going to come in here and stay. And anyway, this night I went down cellar. I knew it was more than a trip downstairs. It was about 9 o'clock at night. And so Dad was out milking us and the girls out town. Doug Hewitt was working with us there. And sent the kids out the barn till Dad had to go to town. And it was about, I figure it was about 20 below. This is my memory of things cold. Sleigh box across the country, you know. And Dad always says I was changing Jerry's diaper. He was so strong, you know. And he never lay still, so I gave him a flashlight to play with. He threw it on the floor and broke the light, so he didn't even have a light. He got in that sleigh box, and it was so dark. And the road, in the wintertime, the road was built up high, you know, where the team runs. That sleigh box got off the track, and we got upset, you know. I sat on a chair all over, and I made him get off that chair right there. And I wanted him to stop at that McClellan place, you know, because she was a nurse there. And I said, why don't we stop here? She's a nurse. Well, Dad says, we're just about in town, and there was a little ravine we had to go through. And he made the horses go pretty fast, you know. And he went through the ravine, and he felt suspicious. He heard the tugs thing, and went out, and every tug had come loose. Or we'd have been sitting right out there in the cold. And he hooked him up, and we were coming up to the hospital road, and there was some bumpy snow along the edge where they cleaned it off the road, and the sleigh hit that and turned me upset. I flew off the chair in the corner, and I thought, oh my God. And I got to the door, we phoned the doctor. I was coming in, and I got to the door. The doctor was right there, and the nurses, they half carried me upstairs, and he was right there. Never got a chance to get ready for birth. He was right there. But we was just glad we saved him, you know. If he'd have been born in that sleigh box, I tell you, I don't know what I would have done. We were froze, wasn't he? It was cold, it was cold. And you know, the next morning that mare lost a pair of twin colts.
Oh.
Yeah, I just run her too hard.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, that's the way Gary come in the world. I says, come in a hurry, and he's still in a hurry.
Still rushing.
Yeah.
What year did your mom and dad move to town in?
So they moved to town. Let's see, I had you 3 kids. I had 2 of you anyway. When Mike and Julie got married and moved in there, then we had to do something. I just can't be sure of the year.
And then what year did they
They
moved down the
they
same year?
moved into town in the fall, and Mom died in January, and Dad died next December. They both died the same year. I'll tell you what, I lost them both when I was 37. I was 37 years old.
What did each die of?
Mom had, well, you know, when she was young, she had gallstones. And the doctor gave her some medicine, like I'm talking about 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor gave her some medicine, and she claims he got rid of them. And she'd come up here and Dr. McCrae'd say, how's your gallstone? She's, oh, they're gone. Oh, no, he says, you got him. If you had him, you got him. And you know, of all the years I knew my mother, I never saw her have one attack. She moved to town, and the first thing she did was get a gallstone attack. And he just got her. Because she had a bad heart, and they operated. Couldn't really operate too much, couldn't give her any ether or anything. That's what they gave that time. So they just kind of opened her up and drained it, and it was all gravel. And then 2 weeks later, when she was about ready to sit up, she got a stroke, and that was it.
How old was she?
71.
And your dad
And Dad was 69.
And he died of?
He had cancer in the end.
After she died, did he?
Then he went to live with Ben. I wanted to take them. But Ben took him for, like, Mom died in January or something. And so Ben took him over there till spring, and then I took him till he kept him till he died. And he got gangrene in his toe. That's how it started. He had gangrene in his toe. And they brought him in here, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And finally took it off of the ankle. And my dad didn't want to live with only one leg, and we told him all his worst things and that. But we knew he had this stomach trouble, so food would go into his stomach, but it wouldn't come out. Or this white stuff they swallowed to test with. So after he died, then the doctors wanted to open him and just see what's in there, so we allowed him to do that. And he had cancer right in the end of his stomach. The bowel had, the cancer had, there was a growth in the bowel, just below the stomach. Yeah, but he had a strong heart, so he lived longer than he ordinarily would have.
What year did, we are running out of tape, what year did you move into town? You and Dad?
75. My dad,
No, you and Dad.
75. In 75, we're here, 94, what's that going on? 19 years. Yeah. So we've had a good life. Yeah, a lot of years, yeah. But then I got my heart attack after the first year I was in here.
First year in town?
Yeah. Well, we had that, our 40th wedding anniversary. I was all right then yet. And then I got it after that.
And what year did you start painting?
I was about 64. Richard was coming home from college and brought Lucille home for the first time I was painting there. I never started before that.
And when did you start baking and entering your baking?
Oh, I always used to take little things even when your kids are home, just out of the garden, fruits and stuff. But I never started baking until maybe even, no, I'd take some in on the farm. Probably when Richard left home, I don't know. I always took the raspberries and things that grew in the garden. I always took them in. There weren't so much work. But really when I started baking, and I got really good at that too.
Of all the
I
things-
often wonder what, how I done it all. I would bake every cake in the book and cookies and things, and then I'd freeze them, and the night before the fair I'd have to bring them up and tag them all and ice them all and thaw them and put the filling in and that. And I do all that. I'd sit there sometimes till 2 o'clock in the morning, have those cakes all ready to go in the morning to the fair. I had them in there about 10 o'clock. Yeah.
I want to ask you one more question, and then
All
we'll
right.
stop. Of all the things you've done in your life, you know, your art and gardening and flowers and all that, what was the most fun for you? What did you like the most?
Oh, I like them all. I don't
Oh.
think I have any. I like my art. I just love my art. But I love entering at the fair too. Yeah.
And flowers or
Yeah,
flowers
and
something?
when I was young, my playing ball. Oh yeah, you couldn't take those years from me. And I loved horseback. I lived on horseback. I just loved my horse. I was
And-
just an outdoor person.
And you never rode after you were married? It just wasn't
No, I
time?
never, well, I just had kids and I just got away from it, and I don't suppose I could have rode a horse. But up until I got married, I lived on horseback. And I loved all those things. I loved animals. I just loved the farm, period. I quit grade 10, I said, there's no place I want to be but on the farm. So I go to school.
You knew that then?
Well, and you see, I was second youngest, so my mom and dad were getting older, and they could use me all the time. I never got to work. Alvina got to work out and make some money, but I always was needed at home, so I just stayed there.
And you were happy, I mean, that was
Well,
satisfying.
you never, I couldn't, I got my clothes, you know, but I sometimes like to work out and just got my own clothes, you know, how kids, good teenagers like to have better clothes. So one day we were in the store, this is one, just an instance. We were in the store in Carlisle. We used to run around, go and see Lily and Liza. They were old enough to be our parents, but they were young at heart. We went in the stocking store and we just thought to pass the time we'd try some of them dresses on. They had this nice long red dress there with a red bolero on it. Tried to just fit. That was when we got like a fence post, you know. And who should walk in but Mrs. Fred Coffey. And she says, what do you think come work for me? Oh, I said, you buy me that long red dress, I'll come work. It was $6.75. And I went home and I told Mom and Dad. So I went down to work it off and I worked there 6 weeks for $6.75. That was a nice dress I think I ever owned. But then they wanted me to come home. It was too much work for them because I always milked the cows.
Did you wear the dress in a lot?
Oh yes, it worked. And you only if you bought one dress every 2 years, that's all you got. You know, when you're at home. But like Alvina that worked out, she could have more. And she always dressed nice. And once she bought me a dress, she'd give me $30 a month. She got $15 a month down there at Frank Papers. That was just $10 a month, $5 a month more than anybody else got. Because she was alone too, like, I mean, there was no lady in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And she just did everything, so. That's, her and I got along. I can't ever remember any of us kids ever quarreling with one another. And I can't remember, Alvina was my only sister that never ever had a cross. I can't ever remember ever being mad or resenting her, and she was much more popular than I was. She was always pretty and at high school. But it didn't strike me that way, and she was just a nice sister.
So your relationships with your brothers and sisters?
Oh, we're close, yeah. Sure, they had their faults, but nobody had no different. But I don't ever remember quarreling with them or having a bad time with them. So maybe it made a difference when you're down at the tail end. But I don't remember any of us kids fighting among themselves.
Mm-hmm.
No, so it was a good life. I had a good life.
Absolutely.
We run out
There's
of
no
time.
doubt about that. Okay, this is the end.
Yeah, all right,
Anything
there-
else you want to say?
No, that's pretty good.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
I'd like to see those in